you guys remember season 1 of quarantine? Everyone cooking, the corona quarantine memes, the Talgana coffee, the TikTok trends like I'm just a kid or everything with super lonely. Everyone collectively binging Tiger King. I mean, I never thought I would get nostalgic over the beginning of quarantine, but here I am. Just last week I was putting on a shirt, a short sleeve shirt, and it still had a little tinge of sunscreen smell to it, which immediately took me back to when I would play tennis with my family outside when it started getting warm again, and we would spend our days outdoors because that was the safe thing to do. Never did I think I would actually reminisce over those times. It's so surreal to me that we're here one whole year later. It feels like no time has passed, yet so much time has passed. Quarantine time just hits different. Just thinking back to how everything went down and how we got to where we are today, it just blows my mind. So today I'm just gonna go over a little bit of what quarantine has been like. I remember when I first found out about the coronavirus in December of 2019. I was having a lesson with my violin teacher, and towards the beginning of my lesson, he was on his phone a little bit, and he just stops and he goes, "Oh, shoot. And I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, well, the coronavirus is like, there's like these students that just came from China, and like, now it might be in the US, and oh my gosh, he was just saying all this stuff. And I was like, what? Like, what is happening? And he's like, you haven't heard about the new coronavirus yet? And I was like, no, what is that? And he was like, oh my gosh, it's like a new disease that's going on around in China, and we don't know anything about it. There's no cure to it. People are dying from it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're all gonna die. Like this is the apocalypse. Like I did not have a clue that this was happening. And he's like, yeah, you gotta like, I mean, we need to like stay protected now. Like we need to. And then this was in December, back when, not many people even knew about it. I couldn't focus the rest of class. I hop into the car and ask my dad, I'm like, what is the coronavirus? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's going around in China. We don't have to worry about it. And I was like, okay. So I didn't worry about it. I didn't really think about it. Well, I didn't think it would impact us. I didn't really think about it impacting me personally until maybe around February, when things still didn't pick up in the US yet. There was maybe like 1 or 2 cases, and they were all contained. In February, I remember going to my violin college audition, and as we were heading to the airport, the night before, my mom gave my dad and I these N95 masks. Those were known to be pretty protective against the virus, even though not much was known about it yet, but those seemed to be the most protective masks there were. I'd never put on a surgical mask before. I'd never put on anything of the sort, so this was just so weird to me. And I remember getting to the airport and seeing not even one other person wearing a mask. This was back when wearing a mask was actually taboo. So my dad and I didn't even end up wearing the masks because we were so scared that people would give us dirty stares, especially being Asian. Wearing a mask in the airport, being the only one wearing a mask, you would have gotten some looks for sure. People would have thought you were sick. You just came straight from China or something, carrying the virus. It was not a fun time to be alive. But like just thinking back to that, it's so crazy to me how things have changed. Back then it was taboo to wear a mask, and now it's taboo to not wear a mask. February passes, another month goes by, and we're in the beginning of March now. Things are starting to pick up a little bit. In the beginning of March, I had 2 major events that I think back on, and I'm just like, how did those even happen? Around March 5th, we had the All-State Conference, which if you guys don't know, it's where kids from all around the state compete to be in an orchestra, and then you have workshops for basically 2 days, and then you have a performance at the end of it. And that is a gathering size of thousands of people. We're talking kids from middle school to high school, all different age ranges, different orchestras, different instruments, all their families, all the people coming in to see the concert. That is a huge gathering. And at the last event I went to, pretty much, some people were already starting to get worried, and we were like, oh, don't worry about it. And I remember we had to carry hand sanitizer around. Masks weren't a thing yet, but we were carrying hand sanitizer around. We were told not to give people hugs or shake hands and avoid all this stuff, which we were just kind of laughing off. Like, oh no, it's not a big deal. And then I remember seeing on my phone, like, 1 case was found in Georgia. Georgia's the state I live in. So we didn't really worry about it, but then it started getting a lot more real. There was 1 case so close to home now. The next day, another case was found, and another case was found. The other event I went to was a tennis match with Nadal and Dimitrov. This was also a huge event, gathering of thousands of people across the state, all coming in to see this tennis match with two very star players. These are all events that I cannot wrap my head around now. Like, how many people were involved everywhere, no masks, no precautions or anything. And there was already like 1 or 2 cases in the state. Less than a week after All-State, everything started coming all down. Now, I'm sure we all remember, but just how quickly it went down. I have it written down when I started keeping a journal of this pandemic. You know, we're living through like a world event, so I decided I was going to document this and whatnot. In a matter of 10 days, we went from 1 case in the state to having the whole state shut down. And I wrote, the next series of events is best imagined as when on a sunny day, suddenly a fat raindrop splashes onto your head. Suddenly another drop, and another drop, until the next thing you know, the sky is a nasty gray and the rain pours so quickly that it feels like bullets bombarding you from the sky. Only when you reflect on what happened do you realize that everything changed in a matter of seconds. Everything changed so quickly that it's just hard. It's so hard to comprehend. In just 10 days, we went from having thousands of people gathering to having everyone quarantined at home. Everything's closed. On my last day of high school ever, which I didn't even know, we actually had a performance. I was in a school musical playing in the pit orchestra for Chicago. This was March 12th. It was a Thursday. That evening, we were notified that schools were closed until further notice, but we had to give that performance. We were supposed to have 7 performances, and we squeezed in that 1 performance. We said, everybody come see the concert. The show was packed that night. Everything was so surreal. It was an amazing performance. We performed the heck out of it. The cast was amazing. But after the show, the goodbyes, it was like saying goodbye for who knows how long. Who knew when we'd ever see each other again, or if we'd ever see each other again. Especially as a senior in high school, there are lots of goodbyes that needed to be said that honestly I still haven't gotten to say. So that's kind of how the coronavirus started, and that's how quarantine started. Now, the first few days, weeks, months of quarantine were quite a roller coaster. My journal is so scattered. I said I was going to keep a journal of, the pandemic, but like I said, quarantine time just hits different. I'll be writing mid-sentence and I'll be called to go eat dinner, and next thing I know, my next entry is a month later. Like, the time just flew by and went by so slowly at the same time. It was so weird. My sleeping schedule was completely whack. Like, I usually sleep from 10 to 11, maybe until 7 to 8 a.m. And then during the first month or so of quarantine, it was just crazy. Like, sometimes the latest I even slept was like 5 or 6 a.m. Okay, usually it was like 2 or 3 a.m. But that's still really bad, and I wake up at 10. I was constantly struggling because I would never have this much time again. This meme right here shows perfectly how I felt, and I'm sure a lot of you felt during that time. I remember being so sad, just overwhelmed and sad sometimes about the pandemic. It was my senior year of high school. This summer was supposed to be like the bridge between the end of your childhood and the beginning of your adulthood. This pandemic gave us no proper ending nor a proper beginning. We didn't get to say our goodbyes. Lots of childhood friends, teachers, where I grew up, I didn't really get a proper closure there. And then as of now, I still haven't taken a single class at the college campus I'm supposed to be, attending. It's just ridiculous to think that our worst concern back then was, oh no, what if prom gets canceled? What if graduation gets canceled? Well, now your freshman year of college is canceled. It's so ironic, us thinking 2 weeks of everything being closed was bad. Some people said that it would last a year, and I could not wrap my head around that. 2 weeks was bad enough. I'm like, what if our graduation gets canceled? What if our prom gets canceled? I could not comprehend a whole year of quarantine for the life of me. Yet here I am. I'd never been faced with so much uncertainty. And when I found out that my freshman year of college would be online as well, I lost my sense of direction and purpose so many times during this quarantine. Emotions were everywhere and nowhere. All of these problems I'm saying, they sound ridiculous in retrospect. Like, I'm living here now and I'm fine, I'm healthy, That is so much more than I can ask for. So with all this being said, I constantly also felt horrible for being sad. Like, why couldn't I be more grateful? I am so blessed. I have food on the table, I have a house to live in, I have parents, I have a family. I have so much to be thankful for. And yet I still felt sad that I didn't have, a senior year ending or a freshman year of college. And then I heard this quote that's, just because you're sad doesn't mean you're not grateful. And that honestly helped me to cope with my emotions. But I just remember feeling so uncertain about every single move I made. There was no right decision. Take a gap year or not, go to this event or not. Everything just felt so uncertain. There were lots of things that I saw ugly in quarantine. Close friends and family of people that I knew dying or getting sick, close friends getting sick, and I saw our nation just crumble with the polarization in politics. For the first time, I saw the world for how it truly was. My innocent childhood eyes had kind of been closed after that. Now, of course, there are tons of negative aspects of a pandemic, but there were a lot of good things that came out of it. Journaling for me personally was extremely therapeutic. It gave me a lot of the closure I needed to move on to the next stage of my life, because I was always trapped in this weird in between. Like, am I a high school student? Am I a college student? Like, what even am I? Like, what do I even want? I don't even know. In the end, I still got so many things. I still got a drive-through graduation that I'm so grateful for, and I'll remember forever. All the problems that I thought were horrible, having this canceled, having that canceled, those all just seem like so minuscule now compared to the large scheme of things. So that was a lot of growth that I had to go through. Looking to the bright side and reflecting on all of this really saved me personally. Many good things have come out of the pandemic. There is still good in the world despite all the chaos. For me, I had the opportunity to go do an online summer camp for the kids in Taiwan who were out of quarantine by the time, and we taught them English via Zoom. I restarted my Gem Violin Instagram account. I started a YouTube channel. I spent so much time with my family and some close friends. I am eternally grateful for that. My grandparents stayed with us for about 7 months, and I don't think I've ever lived that long with them in my entire life. I babysat, and I still babysit these amazing kids. I have some violin students that are wonderful. I cooked a lot, I journaled a lot, so I'll have a lot to look back on. I read over 5 books, which is crazy because I didn't have time in high school to read. My sister and I got so close, like we're literally best friends to this day. I spent so much more time outside. I never got to take walks before. I never really went hiking before. I never got to see the amazing place that I live in because I was always so busy doing work, doing this, doing that. So I'm really thankful for all the time that I got to spend in nature and especially with my family. So ultimately, so much has happened this past year. I literally watched a baby grow up outside my window. I've been sitting at my desk facing the window, and I see this little baby pass by every single day. Their family takes her on a walk, and she started off in her parents' arms, and then I saw her in like a little tricycle thing that you push for the child. And then I saw her start walking, and now I see her running across the patch of sidewalk right in front of my window. And it's so crazy to me that I got to watch this kid grow up. And that also shows me how much time has passed. And I sat at my desk as I always do, but this time I really noticed. I noticed the seasons passing. From the flowers blooming at the start of quarantine, to the leaves changing color, to the leaves falling down and the bare trees. And now we're back full circle. I'm starting to see flowers bloom again. That's something that I really cherish this year for. I really slowed down this year and took the time to enjoy the beauty of all the little things in life. I've always been so busy, with this club, with that class, with this event, this practicing, this friend. I've always been so busy and packed with events that I never took the time to slow down and enjoy any of what I did, everything that's around me all the time that I always just took for granted. Now I'm much more mindful of what makes me busy. I don't take things for granted anymore. I slow down. I notice the leaves on the trees, the detail in the landscaping in my neighbor's yard that they probably spent so much time planning and picking out, and I never noticed. I cherish my family time. I cherish my relationships. I cherish everything because you never know when it could be taken away. There was once a time, which not even so long ago, we could just meet up with whoever we wanted, whenever we wanted, no restrictions, any amount of people. There was once a time we could go to school, we could see people's faces. I believe that we'll get back to that soon someday. So if there's anything that all of us, I hope, have learned from quarantine, it's that we should never take anything for granted, and to slow down and enjoy things. Obviously, this is just my personal experience and what I've learned, but I really hope that you guys are staying strong out there. We'll get through this together. Sorry, that was cheesy. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and thought back on what you guys have been doing this quarantine as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys have been up to, anything that you're really proud of during quarantine, or any lessons that you've learned. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.